I want to talk about your illustration personal brand today, specifically your name. Did you ever want a cool nickname at school? Did you ever try to introduce your own cool nickname to see if you could get it to catch on? Yeah, then you know it doesn't always go to plan. And even if it does, you've got to be damn sure that you want that name to stick for the next 20 years. I see a lot of new artists trying to introduce cool nicknames and monikers for their creative brand, and I get it, you want something memorable that makes you stand out. You can also look around at your favourite big-time illustrators and artists and you see some cool names who are doing awesome work for big brands. But is the artist respected because they branded themselves well, or does the coolness of the brand name grow because the artist is really good at what they do? If you look at a portfolio of incredible work and the artist has a name like Dog Breath Studio, well, you might give the name a chance because the work is awesome. Over time, the weirdness goes away and you just get used to Dog Breath Studio pumping out great work. It's memorable and it could become cool over time because it's associated with great illustration. If you're a new artist and your portfolio isn't quite at that high level yet and you introduce yourself as the felt tip vampire, then it's just weird and it's not cool. Maybe it will be one day. Anything can happen, I suppose. I feel like you've got to earn the right to have a cool nickname. I lived in a kung fu school in China for a while when I was 23, and there were students there from all over the world coming in and out every couple of weeks. One day this new guy turns up from Israel, big strong guy, and he says, "My name's Avi, but my friends call me Panda." And we all sort of just nodded along, and as soon as he was out of earshot we were like, "Pfft, your friends call you Panda?" "No, they fucking don't." Fair enough. He was young, he was out seeing the world, and he wanted to try a bit of a personal rebrand. But because he was trying to force it, we intentionally never called him by that name the whole time he was there. If he'd never mentioned it, it's quite possible that nickname could have occurred naturally. He was in a kung fu school, he was a big cuddly guy, and he ate bamboo every day. It's pretty likely that we could have started calling him Kung Fu Panda without him needing to force it. You can't force a brand. I've heard a few definitions of what a brand is, but one I like is that it's what people say about you when you're not around. So here's one opinion. Maybe you shouldn't start out by trying to force a weird, memorable brand name. For creative agencies who have cool names now, Mouthwash, Pentagram, Vault 49, Handsome Frank, Rocket and Wink, were the names cool when they were just starting out? Probably not, but we associate the names with great work now, and often these cool names have a cool story to go along with them too. So I'm landing on the opposite point of view here, because you could start out with a weird name for your brand, and it won't be cool for a while until you get really good at what you do and you become respected. Then the weirdness sort of tips over into coolness. And the same goes for musicians, right? Metallica, Dizzy Rascal, Fall Out Boy, Major Lazer. If their music wasn't popular, the names would be stupid, but because they're famous, the names are pretty good. So maybe you should start with a weird, memorable name and grow that brand until it is cool. I'm a very practical person. This channel is called The Illustrator's Guide. My book is called The Illustrator's Guide. Yes, it's sort of a brand name, but I picked it because I did keyword research to see what my potential audience is likely to be searching for online. And it does what it says. There are a lot of advantages to naming things using common sense. I would go for clarity over coolness every time because it's way harder to build up a brand with a weird name. If you're trying to find your first clients or you want to sell a product, the last thing you want to do is confuse those people. For example, I want you to see The Illustrator's Guide and to be able to tell instantly that this channel is something you're likely to be interested in. If it was called Thinking Out Loud with James Hughes, it would give me more scope to push into new topics, but the audience just wouldn't know what to expect. So as you can probably tell, I have two opposing points of view in my mind when it comes to artists giving themselves a brand name. On the one hand, it's going to be weird and possibly confusing for clients for a while, and you might feel a bit daft introducing yourself as Dr. Paintbrush or Furry Kitten Designs. On the other hand, if you become a really popular illustrator, what was once a weird nickname becomes a really memorable brand name. So here are a bunch of practical thoughts on if and how you should choose a brand name for yourself. It will be harder to build a brand where the name makes it unclear what you do. You might also feel a bit stupid trying to force a brand name that's on the weird side. You might choose a brand name in your early 20s that you no longer like in your mid-30s. If you become a super famous illustrator, it doesn't matter what your name is. People will remember the work and associate your name with it. That could be a weird brand name, but it could also simply be your own name. Your name becomes the brand. Think about how people could organically find you online. I mentioned mouthwash earlier. If I Google mouthwash, there's no way I'm going to be able to find that studio's website organically because there's too much competition from mouthwash. However, if you choose a name that's not been heard before, like Vault 49, then people can hear the name, Google it, and find you easily. Think about search engines too. If you want any chance of Google recommending your website to potential clients, you've got to at least provide some clarity in what you do. Whatever name you choose, make sure that it's easy to spell. There's a company in the UK called Cinch who sell used cars, and they advertise on the radio. And every time I hear one of their ads, I think, that's a shit name, because I can think of at least 4 possible ways that I could spell that domain name to get to their website. Does it start with an S or a C? Is it a Y in the middle or an I? Not to boast, but I'm pretty good at spelling at this point in my life. But that word is uncommon enough that I wouldn't know what to Google, so that then becomes a barrier to me finding that brand's website. If you have a common name, like me, it'll be hard to find you online organically, but you can help this along by simply adding Illustrator or illustration to your website domain, something like that. If you Google James Hughes, my name, you'll find a film producer, a professor, a sociologist, and an actor who played Baby Dave in The Royal Family, for anyone in the UK that remembers that. But if you Google James Hughes illustration, you find me. If you have a less common name, then why not try to get known for your own name? That is the ultimate personal brand goal, I think. I hope this gave you some food for thought. If you want to think about personal branding a little bit more, I had a chat with the lovely Liz Mosley a few months back about this topic. I'll link to Liz's Instagram in the description too. She shares a lot of great ideas on personal branding. See you next time.